the falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
Hey folks, welcome to this episode of the Brainstorm Podcast Skeptic Studio. This one is a little bit different from the stuff I've been doing recently. I talked to Eric Bickernicks about his book, Strangeness, and UFOs and some of the conspiracies around those. We got off onto other tangents and talked about some skepticism and some of his other projects. It was a fun chat, and I hope you enjoy it. I don't have a lot of housekeeping to do, except just to say thanks to all the people who have been interacting on the Facebook page recently. I've increased my postings there, and there have been a lot of great folks commenting, liking, and sharing the things that I post there. If you have comments or criticisms, then you can reach us at mail@brainstormblog.net, and if you want to help the show grow, then you can do that by becoming a patron at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast, and if you become a patron, then you can hear an extended version of this interview that includes our chit-chat from before we started the show and for about 20 minutes of extra conversation after. Now I'm going to subject you to an ad for another podcast that you should check out.
Hey there, I'm VP Quinn of High Level Games, a tabletop role-playing game podcast and web community. I and my trusty sidekick and producer monkey, the assistant to the regional manager, Joel, hello, talk about various pen and paper role-playing game products in an always interesting and sometimes funny way. We are a for gamers by gamers podcast that looks at how to make these games more awesome for the fans. Check us out on iTunes, follow us at HLG_corporate on Twitter, like our page on Facebook, or just go to highlevelgames.ca for more information. High Level Games, the industry's first choice in taking your games to the next level.
Welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast Skeptic Studio. Today I'm talking to Eric Bickernicks. Is that right? All right. And we're going to talk about your book that you just recently wrote and released, and UFO conspiracies, I guess.
Right. Is there a theme song? I don't hear. Are you going to edit it in later? Or?
I'll add it in later.
Okay, good. So, what was the theme song going to be? Just so I can imagine the theme song. Go ahead.
It's actually like a
creepy music. Creepy,
Well, not so much. It's more like just a. Have you ever heard of the band Tool?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like Tool, but like with a voiceover, kind of like saying, "Hey, this is the Brainstorm Podcast. We examine facts and we try to be skeptical, but also compassionate."
Okay, now I'm in the mood. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, why don't we start with a little bit of a background of yourself? What got you interested in UFO conspiracies, and where are you from?
Right. Well, grew up here on the East Coast, outside of Cape Cod. I'm on Cape Cod now. And basically, I've been following science fiction, the UFO stories. I'm 57. I'm going to be 58 this month. And I've ever since the 60s, I've been following, the UFO stuff, what few books there were in the 60s. And it's kind of interesting to see how it's kind of developed over the decades. You can touch on that. And as a filmmaker, I'm basically a frustrated filmmaker, who instead of writing another film script, that no one would read, okay, I wrote a book basically.
Right.
And we'll see what happens, with that. I'm still working on the film script. So basically I wanted to just, I had something to say about, UFOs, extraterrestrial life. Again, I could have done it as a blog post. Nobody cares about that. An essay. Fine. So basically, I wanted to put down, here's my thoughts on the whole subject. And bang, it's in book form. The world doesn't give a crap. Okay, I said it there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of an issue because I'm not on a genre in particular.
Right.
I'm not just doing the same old thing where it's like, Professor Plum killed, the maid in the study, with a laser weapon, da 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 da.
So,
yeah.
Is it's a fiction novel though, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So I guess you could fit it in the science fiction section.
You could, it's sci-fi. It has UFOs, it has an alien.
Nice.
And, it's sci-fi,
So how long did it take you to write the book?
Oh boy, yeah. Well, about a year of thinking and then about another year of writing.
That's not bad.
I guess it's on par. Second book. So, this is, I've already done my first novel. That was my practice novel just for this. And basically at the moment I'm turning into a film script, which, as a filmmaker and I knowing that this is going to be ultimately a film script while I was writing the book, it's still difficult to boil down 80,000 words into a roughly 20,000 word film script. So
right. Jeez.
he's going to yank it out.
That would be tough.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same reason why, it's not as good as the book. Film's not as good as the book. Well, yeah, you have 80,000 words to describe something.
Yeah, that's right.
Down to, 2 hours of, visual stuff. But the thing is, you could say the book is based on based on fact or based on true stories.
Okay.
As example, what was it? The project, there's a new show out that just came out, Project Blue Book.
Okay.
Right, it was on, where the hell is it? And basically, and they say on it, based on true events. It's like, so yes, I guess you could say my book is based on true events, even though,
it doesn't have to be true for that to be the case.
There you go, right. So basically, I'm satirizing basically the whole UFO world, conspiracy world. I just threw everything in there, basically it's a satire, and believe me, it's not hard to satire
right.
a lot of these people. I had fun doing it. There it is. Let's see what happens.
So, what have you, while you were looking into this book, what kind of evidence or what kind of claims did you see about UFOs?
Yeah, right. All right. So I started, as an example, one of the cooler events are the Phoenix Lights, or should I say the two incidences. Are you familiar with it? Phoenix Lights from March 13th, 1997.
Doesn't ring a bell, but...
Oh, really? Okay, all right. Basically, quickly,
sure.
On March 13th, 1997, there were two things that happened in Phoenix. One was a row of lights that kind of were on the horizon that slowly descended. And they're like, oh my God, there's UFOs, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, no, come on, it was lights. And ultimately, they've proven that it's flares. It was a row of flares that were dropped by some military planes and that slowly descended down to the horizon and they disappeared behind the mountains. Okay. Yeah, and you can compare daytime footage and nighttime footage. Yeah, it's flares, but there was another thing that happened that night where a V-shaped quote craft flew over outside of Phoenix, and a whole bunch of people saw it and freaked out over it.
Okay.
Boom, you're right. Okay. And they're saying, oh no, it was a dark V-shaped object.
Definitely aliens.
There you go. And ultimately, that culminated into what was the guy's name here? Okay, on June 19th, I go in notes here. The Arizona governor actually had a little press conference saying, "Listen, people, calm down. Let's calm down here. It's nothing's going on." And they had a guy come out. You've probably seen this footage. A guy come out with an alien head dressed in silver, who he pulls his head off and he reveals that he's like some. The governor says, "Listen, we're just ha ha ha. Come on, this is all fun. This is the aliens aren't here." But the true believers freaked out. They're like, how dare he make fun of us? And yeah, I thought it was funny. I was just like, that's just great. He did a piss poor job of calming everyone down by basically making fun of everybody.
Right.
And I said, oh, okay, I got to put that in the book. So basically, I have a similar deal where where I start the story with a V-shaped craft, mysteriously flying over. Well, in fact, I started on the town of Truro, which is part of Cape Cod. The significant thing about Truro, and if you look at Cape Cod, imagine Cape Cod is sort of like a flexing arm that sticks out into the ocean. It's kind of a peninsula. It's way out in the end, the middle of nowhere. The town of Truro's claim to fame is Bud Hopkins. Bud Hopkins, who wrote a book called Missing Time, basically back in 1981. He claims he had a UFO sighting in August 64 in the town. And his whole thing is he ended up, his books ended up influencing the whole UFO abduction thing. And he actually, he put people under, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, look at this. The aliens have been coming here. So that's his claim. That's his whole thing. He had a whole career. He was like an artist. He did paintings and stuff, and there's a whole artist community out there in Cape Cod and Provincetown. But he ultimately then went into this whole, he saw this UFO in 64 off of Route 6. I've driven down there a million times myself. So he ran with it in that direction. So I said, all right, well, why not start my book literally where Bud Hopkins saw his? Cool. Yeah. And there's another episode, again, and in this whole Phoenix Lights thing, if you check out the Wikipedia page, there are a whole bunch of people freaked out, oh my God. But one guy, I just saw this recently, one guy said, all right, I had a pair of binoculars, I looked at it, I know what they're talking about. It was planes. They were flying in formation. It was a bunch of warthog planes that were probably flying off to the military section and then drop the flares. And it's like, that doesn't, that doesn't sound so cool and exciting having a dark shaped, thing fly over Phoenix.
No. Do believers buy that?
Well, the question is like, was there actually, well, first question, did he actually see anything? And obviously the flares, fine. Yeah, they saw flares. This whole other report here, is like,
maybe there was something, maybe there wasn't.
Right, with the military, but when you go, it's just probably a bunch of warthog planes flying in formation in the shape of a V. That's what they tend to do, right? I mean, It's like, that's not nearly as exciting, is it? But again, I can't just say, nope, they're all wrong. That's what it is. I mean, certainly as a skeptic, you just can't,
right.
You could be wrong.
The simplest explanation seems
usually is the good one.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I'm basing this off of, there's an Illinois UFO sighting January 5th, 2000 in Lebanon area of Illinois. That was another triangle-shaped craft or whatever, about the size of a 747. And if you go on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of these clips. You'll find it all out there.
Right.
What about this one is there's a whole bunch of cops who reported this. I'm like, okay. And it flew in a particular, they tracked this saying, okay, these guys saw it here and went to here, bing, 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 and there's a whole flight path they worked out. There's all this documentary on that. And a couple of civilians saw it too.
Okay.
And, it's similar to the V-shaped thing. This is more of a triangular thing and had different sort of lights on it. Now, so when a bunch of cops claim they saw it, it's like, okay, now as a skeptic, I have to go, okay, well.
What did they see?
Right. Or would they what? Would they have gotten together and they say, okay, listen, it's kind of boring. Listen, I'm going to say that V-shaped UFO TV, right? You take over. Okay, you got, okay. And then he's going to take over from there, right? I mean, that's like, it's possible. Yeah, I suppose. So that's why when you start to get more people who are, what I want to say, legitimate or who.
More credible sources.
Yeah, it's like, well, all right, do you want to just dismiss them straight out as kooks or, do they form their own conspiracy? It's like, at that point, it's like, well, I don't know, was it military or, I mean, of course, they never got any footage or maybe, I think someone took like the classic blurry, shot. But I started the book like that. A bunch of cops out in Truro saw this mysterious object.
Okay.
They tracked it, like I said, I mimic, sort of the real life thing. But then the story progresses from there. The premise of the whole story is, now what if a UFO actually kept coming back to the same area? Right? Most UFO reports like, oh, it was there. Oh my God, it's gone. Okay, well, it's over.
Right.
But what kind of people would a recurring UFO attract? And the deal is I started it in the beginning of tourist season. Cape Cod's kind of small and skinny, so you can only fit so many people on there. Wouldn't it be funny if, a UFO kept coming back to this area, attracting, in addition to the tourists, all the other wingnuts that would be associated with it, waiting for it to come back. And then just, hysteria ensues from there.
Right. So, yeah, it's an interesting subject. Like, so I guess what is the credibility of these claims in general anyway?
Right. Well, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
there's
a whole range of people, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's certainly, yeah,
Is there evidence other than just individual anecdote?
Well, there you go. Well, yeah. Well, if you want to call the photos, which are like at this point in time, anything can be faked, literally. In fact, my protagonist literally starts the book creating a fake crop circle.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I established that he's a skeptic. Ta-da! I guess who I'm referring to here.
Right.
And that the next chapter, he's actually trying to create fake UFO footage on the computer. His whole deal is like, listen, we got to like filter out the crappy reports, the unreliable stuff to the credible reports, because he's sort of like wants to believe, but obviously there's a lot of crap out there, right. And he wants to illustrate. Look how easy it is to fake this stuff. So yeah, run from it from there.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I've had people like say, oh, well, you have to read this person. And, I can't even remember the one book I read by, but the author tells this story of being out on a boat with military personnel, and him and this entire ship of military personnel see this alien ship rise up out of the ocean. And I wonder, like, how do we as like skeptics verify that or interpret that? Like, how do we even approach these things?
Right. Well, yes. I mean, because that's the hard part. To get to the final step is you have to say these people are full of shit. If you're really going to be the hardcore skeptic, you have to say. And that's the hard part. It's like, really, they would just really,
they would just lie.
I mean, really, that's the hard part of letting go of it. It's like, come on, it can't be that many liars, can they? Well, maybe, maybe rabbit, so yeah, I mean, that's part of, that's the whole social aspect is like, well, come on, we can't all be that delusional. Of course, you bring up religion. Okay,
right.
We can discuss that. And there seems to be a whole boatload of wishful thinking on that subject.
Yeah. I get a lot of similar pushback when I argue against the idea of spirits, right? Like, people believe that they've seen a spirit, and if I'm telling them that there's other possible explanations, then I must be calling them a liar.
Right. Or, well, again, they saw something, right? They actually, right. They claim they saw, yeah. On a similar note, and this is, as a skeptic, this also, I guess I struggle with, but, all right, Bigfoot. Let's jump over to Bigfoot sightings, right? Because this is something that, okay, it either exists or it doesn't, right? I mean, there's no like,
right.
Well, it was a spirit Bigfoot, or no. Okay, it is or isn't, right?
Right.
Yeah. On just backtracking for a quick. I mean, technically, for UFOs, well, well, here, there's three aspects of the whole UFO question, or extraterrestrial, right? I mean, are there other extraterrestrials out there, right? Well, you have to take it to a religious point of view to say, no, we're the only people. So, okay, certainly, yeah, come on, there's got to be something out of 100 billion stars Hubble has seen, 100 billion galaxies.
Right, it's entirely possible that there's something out there.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to argue that. The question is, did they make the trip?
Right.
So they can certainly exist, but did they have to make the trip? And then the third part is, well, really, did they actually come into your bedroom and pick you? I mean, so, you can see how it just descends further and further.
It's the trip itself always seemed to be a sticking point for me. Like,
yeah,
light speed travel, how close is the closest possible planet with life on it? It's not close.
Probably not Alpha Centauri, right?
So, you're looking at what, 10,000 years to travel here?
Right.
So,
my point on that, right, is like, look, if there are aliens, for God, give them credit. Make them smart, please. I mean, because if you're saying, right, not you, but whoever, is like, if they traveled from there to here, very far place, and let's say, they're traveling at the speed of light, right? They had to avoid every little tiny piece of dust speck, because getting a dust speck to hit you at the speed of light, you're toast. Or if you're traveling at a speed of light, you had to avoid everything.
The navigation would be pretty intense.
Well, you would have to know how to avoid little small rocks, out in outer space, or else you're just screwed. Just bang. No, you'd be, So they figured that out. So if you're saying if they got here, they figured that out. Yet they slammed into our planet. It's like, really? Come on, give them some credit. And the next question is like, really? So it's just like, Zork smacked into another planet. It's like, you gonna get him? Nah, let's just leave him there. I'm not getting that idiot. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If they made the trip, I don't think they're that stupid.
No, you wouldn't think so.
Right.
So, you mentioned at the start that you're kind of getting annoyed at this stuff, so you needed to put it down on paper. What was there like a particular story that really got you worked up and you're like, okay, enough is enough. I gotta get this out here.
Well, the whole shebang. the whole thing. What that includes, right? Here, as an example, let's going down the list here is, example, the people who would show up on this kind of thing would be the true believers, right? If a UFO was arriving, I'm like, all right, who would show up? Well, obviously, someone probably like, who Bob Lazar is, right? I have a character sort of inspired by someone as famous as Bob Lazar. He claims that he worked with the aliens in Area 51, and Right. My little character is doing the opposite. He's saying, no. Everyone's a front man. In fact, the aliens crashed at Otis Air Force Base. There's an Air Force Base on Cape Cod. Work it in. And the aliens are there, man. And we have to get into the Air Force Base because that's where they are, not in Area 51. One aspect, there's that whole, aspect, I know the truth and let me tell you guys.
Right.
The other thing I find funny are cults, basically. And I have a character called Click, and I'm modeling him off of Applewhite, good old Marshall Applewhite from Heaven's Gate, who they all killed themselves because the arrival of the UFO. Early in my research, I found out that he actually was trying to get to the East Coast, or actually to Massachusetts, and set up camp there. He never made it. He basically, ended up in San Francisco. I wouldn't be surprised if he was drawn to this Bud Hopkins thing that, was very well known at the time,
right,
around 1964, and that's when he was sort of moving around the early 1970s. So basically, I have one character. I'm combining Marshall Applewhite with the UFOs, and basically, and this character is basically also waiting for the UFO to arrive. This is probably his UFO coming by, so he can be picked up, and then he can have sex with the aliens, specifically the Fornications from the star Alpha Fornax, from the star cluster of Fornax.
Nice.
Right. And then there's also Billy Mayer, which is another famous cult guy. He has this horrible, like pie plate footage of UFOs that he shot back in the day, and people were like, wow, it's amazing. Like, come on, it's just a plate. Thus, I have a pie plate on the cover of my book. That's where that's from.
Okay.
And of course, the Raelians, the whole thing with, the leader of their thing, what's the hell's name? Claude Verhoeven, as he's known as Rael, right?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Claims he's having sex with the aliens. I'm like, okay, that's beautiful. That's going in, yeah. So I basically combined all those guys into one character, and then sort of had fun playing with, that whole conformity thing, and yeah, we're all cosmic and we're all coming for us. That's just funny, yeah. So
that's awesome.
I had to go with that one.
So I guess if you had to guess on or maybe you can speak for what your book was. Like, what is the point of aliens coming to Earth?
Well, I would argue that there is no reason they need to contact us, or why, Right. And I know from our point of view, it's like, well, they made the trip. How dare they not say hi? It's like, well, what did they? First, the question is, if they're going to make the trip all the way out to here, how close is close enough, right? I mean, because the first assumption you could only make, right, is all right, is yes, they have powers. Their powers of observation are much greater than ours, right? I mean, can you can't argue with that, right?
Yeah.
So if they have a greater power of observation, why does it have to be just like, I don't know, 200 yards up, or even in my bedroom? Why can't they just park themselves out by Pluto? Like, yeah, we got a perfectly good good view from out here, Oort cloud, Alpha Centauri. Again, we're taking what we think of what would be a good look at us, literally flying over our heads.
Right.
And like, well, who said so?
Yeah. It never really, I never understood the abduction thing.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Yes. I mean, it boils back to the demons, the devils, yeah. I mean, that's been in our folklore forever. So it's just another updated version of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it just, like you say though, like, if they wanted to observe us from afar, then they could do that easily, if they have the tech to get here.
Well, maybe they don't even need the tech to get here. I mean, certainly, how close do they have to be?
Right.
So yeah, that's the other second question. Do they even actually need to actually make the trip? Right. And two, I can't think of a good reason why they need to land and say, hi, we're here. Let me shake your hand.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, I can't, there's a whole bunch of reasons which I could just blabber on for whatever, 10 minutes. But there are none. I can't think of one. I mean, basically in a sense that we're just going to hurt ourselves with whatever they gave us.
Right. Yeah.
So why would they do that to us if they made the trip? Yeah,
there seems to be a lot of factors at play. There was recently, like, did you follow the cigar tube asteroid or whatever that was flying through our solar system?
Right.
Like,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was super cool, but there was a lot of people jumping on the alien bandwagon, right?
Yep.
Because it was cigar shaped or whatever.
Well, it was a weird angle, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, good for them. Good. Yeah. All right.
But the number of variables, the number of things you have to eliminate before you can actually call it, reliably call it an alien thing,
right,
it's so high. Like,
yeah. Right. I would argue is well, again, the folklore is there's a if they bothered to make the trip. Let me clarify. Let me just put that before everything here. Is okay to us is okay. How we would envision it, obviously, is a piece of biology inside a metal container, right? I mean, that's how we operate, right? But who says the UFOs just aren't the extraterrestrials themselves? I mean, just that's it. You're looking, that's it. That is, it's the perfect thing to fly around in space, travel. I mean, because that's his environment, space. What's so special about walking on a planet surface when you've got space to, explore? So, there's one I'm saying it definitely is, but I'm just saying, okay, there's, there's an option for you. So there's no one to come out and shake our hand,
Right. It's not necessarily the way that people imagine it might be, just because that's what we're used to.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, because they just watch science fiction. Yeah. I mean, how much imagination these guys, the average person has. On that note, here's a little side note on that, just to illustrate, the average, science fiction. All right, science fiction in general. My thoughts by Eric Bickernicks. Here we go.
Okay.
I need a drink.
Sure.
Well, like I said, one of my, right. My argument would be is, let me back up a little bit. You probably heard of the funny statistic, 50% of all people have below average intelligence, right?
Yes.
So, and the 60 percentile isn't too swift either, right? And the point is, when you think of science fiction, you're really selling product, right? You are selling movies or books to, the 60 percentile.
Right.
Because they got the $15 for movie ticket, or they're paying for the book. And if you make it so out there, they're like, what? There's certainly a lot more idiots out there with $15 for movie ticket than there are PhDs or scientists with $15, right? I mean, where's your audience? You're going to sell to your audience, right?
Yeah.
So a good example for that is, let's go back to good old H.G. Wells now, right? War of the Worlds. He wrote War of the Worlds in 1897. H.G. Wells is a pretty damn progressive guy, right? I mean,
right.
He talked about futurism, much later, but his audience in 1897, as an example.
Not quite so progressive.
Right. So as an example, for War of the Worlds, right, he had the Martians, first of all, just kind of like they sort of traveled through space and crashed on a planet and then walked around with big steampunk, legs, right? Because why? I mean, certainly the easiest way would be like, well, no, they just fly. My extraterrestrial, my aliens fly. Certainly you can get around much better, blah, blah, blah. But his audience from 1897 is, first of all, flights didn't even happen until 1907, I think, where the Wright Flyer went off the ground 1903.
Okay, yeah.
So the concept of flying through the air just, is like, what a crazy idea for a person in 1897. They sort of conceived of it, but it's like, really, well, you just flap your arms, I guess. And if H.G. Wells said, listen, no. There's giant craft the size of houses that just fly through the air. They'd be like, huh? Which actually ended up being the way it is. But
right.
From that audience point of view, it's like, that's just so crazy. Why would you, he was like, no. They kind of blast themselves off and they walked around in metal legs,
Right. So you got to meet your audience where they are.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why all this stuff that we're talking about there's alien, the grays that look like like what Steven Spielberg had, or specifically the book Communion. Whitney Schreiber had a classic.
Right.
They all look like that now. I can remember back in the '60s reading all the books of UFOs. Is the cool part was like, oh, what do the aliens look like this time?
Right.
Because they're always different. Like, oh, that's cool. Obviously, they just, every person got to make up their own alien. But now everyone is now agreed on the same, thing now.
Is there, is there like all UFO believers believe in the same type of alien?
Well, when I was younger, no, everybody had their own version of an alien. The elephant guy. There was a couple of reports. There's some movies made about it. I think Light in the Sky, I think, was one. Basically, some guys in the panhandle of Florida saw a thing. They got lifted up into the spaceship by elephant-looking, wrinkly aliens. Like, all right, okay, fine. But yeah, you don't see where are the cool aliens anymore? They're all exactly the same. And obviously, it's now folklore. Everybody, that's, before it's like, if you believed in devils, yes, they have horns, okay, blah, blah, blah. They're red in color. Okay, fine, devil. Yeah, got it. And now it's, okay, great. They're grays. Okay. They got big black eyes, They
got the weird dome-shaped head type thing.
Yeah. And again, it's just almost like for lack of imagination. Like, come on, people, come up with, come with something cool.
It's just whatever was in pop culture most recently.
Yeah, well, precisely. In that people that for now, it's just, that's how they conceive of it. It's going to be, a thing in a metal box. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good though. I find the whole alien thing just interesting as like a fictional thing. Like I don't even, so like I watch TV shows and they have aliens on it and I don't even question it.
Right. Well, yeah, it's fun. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, Close Encounters is a cool friggin' movie.
Right.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, it's no coincidence that Alien, it looks like a horrible insect creature, and when you want a scary alien, it looks like an insect. Why? Because we hate it. Insects are horrible looking, and obviously you make the alien insect, right?
Yeah.
So,
by your theory, where do people make that connection from the fictional to the real? What makes them think that that's a real thing?
You would have to ask them, but obviously, yeah. I mean, if that's if that's if your imagination is like, well, what other people say? It's like, okay, yeah, you're just gonna go with the crowd, right? I mean, so okay, yeah, all right, that. So, but again, like I said, like all these imagery are certainly scary stuff, and it's pretty universal. I
guess a bit more
amongst the world.
A bit more about your book is like you said you've got the main character is a skeptic, right? And how does he deal with that? Like, are the aliens like kind of? I mean, I guess you don't want to give away too much of your book, but if he comes into a world where aliens are real, like he's going to have to change his views, right?
You would. In fact, yes. In fact, but in the book, though, I am playing with everyone's expectations.
Okay. Of
what an alien's supposed to look like, what we're expecting an alien to look like. And yeah, I have fun with that. That's sort of the whole, the whole moral of the story. Is I'm screwing with everyone's expectations. And I'm doing I don't want to give it away, but I'm saying that I have 3 twist endings on the end here. I want crazy. I want the M. Night Shyamalan, whatever, ding dong. Yeah, I have 3. So how about that? I've got 3 to give away.
3 different endings, eh?
Well, no, 3 twists to the ending here.
I see.
I took a year to think about this, so there we go.
Oh, right on. It's interesting stuff anyway. The idea that these things that have always been in our mind, our fear of the unknown, I guess, right, kind of manifested.
Yeah. Well, certainly everybody wants to have an explanation of the unknown. I mean, which folds right into religion, right? I mean, if you're 2,000 years ago, you're from the Bronze Age, you had no clue, right, how nature worked, right? I mean, because science wasn't even invented until 1,500 years later. Just the concept of looking at the world objectively, and ignoring the what's the word? Not the status quo, but the church or whatever, whoever they represent. You needed an answer, right? I mean, you needed, if your little kid asks your dad, where did the earth come from? We don't know. I mean, that's not an answer, right? Or where does rain come from? It's like, where do we go after,
right.
Why do people die? Why did people just drop dead, from illness? Okay, well, let's make something up
right.
and tell them, okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah. Certainly the need for an answer, even if a wrong answer, is from what I can tell, pretty darn great.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's hard sitting there, going, well, no, I'm not taking an answer. Everything is a horrible shade of gray. I 60% believe that, and maybe 40% don't. I have no problem with it, but apparently most people don't.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people don't.
Yeah. The uncertainty is it leaves us with a lot of anxiety, right?
Yes, right. Yeah. Especially now that as an atheist, it's like, I'm the walking poster boy for nihilism, for Christ's sake, my Jesus Christ, it's going to be end. Oh my God, I've got to get this book out. I got to get it done. I need things. Because, it's this horrible thing going to happen. Or not, once it happens, it won't be horrible. You just go back to oblivion. Well, it won't hurt, but up till then, I want to make sure I don't have any regrets lying there going, oh, geez, this is it, really? Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it definitely does make it feel like you need to leave a mark on the world in some way.
my personal website is called adeadguy.com.
Nice.
And what it is the delusion is, right, is hopefully I will be known as a dead guy for much, much longer than I was known as an alive guy.
Right.
Whether I came up with some concept or whether, my book here, whatever, again, I fully expect no one to give a shit. So that's why I just did it my way here.
Well, you got to do something, right?
Right. And again, now here's the ultimate nihilism here is still my book can be digitized into a bunch of just zeros and ones, right? And that's it. But I won't be around. I mean, this whole business of a tombstone, I got to put my body in a ground. I'll have no. Yeah, don't do that. That's just silly. But somehow I like to think, wow, my ones and zeros will continue on after me.
Right.
That represents me, right? But then you look out even further, like, well, why the hell would my ones and zeros be any more significant than some extraterrestrial who came up with their ones and zeros here,
Right.
On whatever books or things they might have done. Yeah, and then it's just like, okay, it's time to have a drink.
Yeah, that's why you need a dark sense of humor, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't offend me at all. No, you can't.
Gotta embrace that the darkness and just realize, well, death is coming. So
that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny in a sense that it's like, yeah, it's preposterous. It's like
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess what is I want to kind of get more in depth about your book, but I don't want to give away too much of what's going on in it.
Right. Well,
we want people to read it, right?
Yeah. Well, here, let me take you through it. Let me just roughly. There's 3 protagonists.
Okay.
Okay. So I got my male skeptic guy who
Okay.
who basically is doing the fake UFOs, and basically he sees something at the Barnstable County Fair, like right flying over his head, like, wow, look at that. I'm looking at myself here, and then from that point there. He's got to deal with it. The second protagonist, character is Melissa, the Cape Cod reporter, who basically, since I want to have all these things to happen on Cape Cod. Literally, Cape Cod is like the 4th character. Just set everything on there. Nice. And basically how it's tight, and one of the issues are people coming on, and literally like tourists invade Cape Cod every season. And I figure, well, why not use it sort of like an allegory for? In addition, we have the aliens invading Cape Cod,
right?
And it's something along the lines of like I was thinking like War of the Worlds. What's his face is Fatso. What's his name? I'm blanking out here. Mr. Wine Guy. Oh, here, hold on. Before his time radio show. I'm blanking out here. Yeah. See what happens when you turn 57? You go, oh my God. H.G. Wells. Where the hell did it go? Killing me. All right.
The guy who did the
Orson Welles. Thank you. Yes, Orson Welles. Yeah. How he got a bunch of people to react, from his broadcast. I sort of have that going on Cape Cod. Because basically, some of these, one of the characters has a podcast,
okay,
a radio show that talks about UFOs, and that he becomes famous just because now people are now really focusing on, what's going on. He becomes the de facto, expert on the local sighting. And the third thing is, Astro the Golden Retriever. Basically, it's not a talking dog; it's a thinking dog. And we see the story through his eyes. And basically, I'm sort of stealing from Flowers from Algernon, right? The book there, where basically the movie Charlie was based on it, where a character becomes a genius. It starts as a retarded guy, I guess, and through some surgical thing, he ends up turning into a genius. And he sort of reflects on, seeing world now as a really highly intelligent person. Well, instead I have it happening to the dog.
Okay.
And ultimately, I just thought it'd be funny to have a golden retriever have an existential crisis.
Yes.
The happiest dog having an existential crisis. I just like that concept. I'm like, I got to put that in. I just like that. But ultimately, I have a reason. So it's not just like, this is just a gimmick. What?
Right.
No. It's part of it. It's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
So basically, the characters just progress, and sort of the famous guy convinces everyone, no, there's going to be extraterrestrials on the Air Force base. We need to get on there. The Click, the character who's based off of Applewhite, is like, no. Also, they're going to be landing on the Air Force base, and we're going to have to board, onto the space. That whole thing. Yeah, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh, that sounds like it'll be an interesting read.
Yeah.
Where is it available?
Well, it's on the website. Like I said, I'm doing the Andy Weir thing now. Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian, basically he gave away the book at first. I'll charge for it later. But right now, I'm just trying to get a following.
Right.
So the easy URL is capecoddufo.com. And yeah, it's free on Amazon, and I got all the other versions, Barnes and Noble. Yeah, there it is. Take a look at it.
Usually what I do with authors is that I'll buy a copy of the book for a listener who emails me. The first listener who wants one, I'll buy a copy for them.
Okay, well, it's free. Just go get it.
I guess.
Just get it.
Yeah. So I guess I don't have to do that with this.
No, you don't. It's free. There.
But what else was I going to ask? I had something on the tip of my tongue.
Anyway. And like I said, I'll blabber for a little bit
Sure.
until you think of it. Anyway, yeah. So again, it should have been a film script, and I've taken what I know as a film guy, pacing, tempo, and put it into a book form. So it's fast paced, and I'm not gonna say it's funny. I won't say it is funny, even though people tell me it's funny. I was shooting for amusing. And no, people say it's funny. I'm like, good. All right. Good. So I'm not going to claim that I know what makes you laugh, so I can't say that. But the early reports are, it's like, yeah, hey, this is, fast paced. And they noticed that because I specifically wanted to take what I knew as a filmmaker, tempo, don't drag, don't let things, just play out forever. And I got a lot of flack from the literary types who I, gave it to early on. It was like, well, no, you're doing this wrong here. I'm like, well, what? I mean, I'm keeping things snappy here. It's like, no. You need backstory. You need everybody you have to take chapters where you get the backstory of everybody. I'm like, well, you don't get that in a movie. When you watch Catch-22, you don't know where Yuzarian came from. It's just a bunch of people in an environment dealing with. Yeah. So the point is, a bunch of people have said they really enjoyed that they don't do fiction and they like the tempo, and it's like it's snappy and it held their interest. And I agree. I really don't read much fiction myself either.
Right. Yeah. I tend to focus on the nonfiction, but I've been trying to get more back into science fiction the way I was when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that if I have to. If I'm stealing from anybody, would probably be Michael Crichton.
Okay.
And I like his books. Yeah. He's not certainly known for his, extravagant writing style. It's all story. Yeah. And to me, that's it. I'm just translating my story into words here. And hopefully at some point someone will, make it into a movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How have you had UFO believers read this yet?
Well, yeah, I started to, and that's the interesting thing is I thought they're going, I'm basically satirizing the whole UFO crowd,
right?
But like in anything, they tend to go, oh, this is yeah. I know people like that. It's like, well, no, I was thinking of you, dude.
Makes me think of Stephen Colbert when he did the Colbert Report, and lots of Republicans thought, okay, well, yeah, this is great. He's not on the Democratic or the left side. People, he were like, yeah, he's making fun of you. But on the right, they weren't like, oh yeah, I know people like that. I know that.
Right. Yeah. So that I know one guy who's more drunker than I am. So yeah, I'm not the drunk. That guy's the drunk. Like,
Right.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to play. I guess I'll play both sides of the fence. Okay. Yeah. So if you're skeptic, I think you could definitely relate to all this.
Right.
But then you'll recognize where all these UFO reports came from the whole lore. Yeah. All
right.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm still early in on the whole, the whole marketing aspect here.
Right. Yeah, I'm far from an expert at marketing myself. So.
Bitch. Yeah. Bitch.
Yeah. So I guess, I'm just checking out your website here. It looks like you've got a couple other books out as well.
Yeah. I wrote another one in the world called Artifice. That wasn't a genre. Yeah, I got kicked in the balls for that one too.
Oh, jeez.
Just in the sense that no one gives a shit. It's like, okay, great. I spent 2 years on that. I think it's a funny story, and a few people who have read it said, "Geez, I wasn't expecting to have a funny story." Basically, it's a story of an artist. Imagine an artist having a patron who buys all his work and then burns it on him.
Wow.
And then again, so I do art, I do, music and, things.
Okay.
And the question is, I was basically studying the whole question of, well, what makes an artist create? Are you in it just for the money? I mean, if that's the case, well, fine. Like if you paint houses, it's like, yeah, so what? I don't care. If the house burns down next week, I get paid.
Yeah.
I don't care. But if you're an artist who's doing like, paintings or something like that, knowing that it gets destroyed, basically you'll never exist when you're same deal as I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
You'll never, that's what you're trying to leave behind, your work. And if someone just purposely says, here, I'll just pay you to destroy it, well, would you have an issue, with that? And how would a person like that react? And yeah, I went basically and had fun vamping off of that. Moral of,
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, but believe me, yeah. And the point is that the few people who have read it, yeah, enjoy it. So again, I want to make it fast and snappy.
That's cool.
Hey, that must be surprising, right? For a guy talking like this fast.
No, that's perfect. I'm just thinking about your new book, your High Strangeness, and I'm thinking did you have to do much research into the conspiracies behind the UFOs?
Oh, Christ. Well, yeah. When the time came, I read everything I could find on it. What was interesting is I watched all the footage from Marshall Applewhite, the guy from Heaven's Gate.
Right.
I listened to his whole shebang. He has like hours of this stuff, blabbering about the what's his face, the people are coming in from their planet and all that. So, that was interesting. Certainly all the other, reports. Yeah. As an example, I had to, ultimately, everyone thinks that the aliens are in the Pave Pause radar installation. It's a funny looking building, and obviously aliens would be in a funny looking building. It actually exists on that. And I had to do a lot of research on that. I found a guy who actually worked there. And I had to dance around it. I didn't want to tell the guy straight out, I'm going to make a funny book where people break into your facility, and try to talk to people like you, but anyway, he had some, like I said, so yeah, I did a ton of research on all of it.
So something, what do believers think is going on? Like, who's covering up the UFOs?
Again, you have to ask them. I mean, but obviously everybody has their own opinion here.
Right.
And I was talking to someone recently who said, yeah, the UFOs don't exist, but they're probably a manifestation of some other energy or something like that. They're basically coming out from another dimension. So they don't actually physically exist. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, okay. You can't disprove it necessarily, but so, you know what I mean? So that's, yeah, everybody has their own variant of however, whatever you want to believe, whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever you want to go with. Sure, right. I guess, it's not my job, to tell them you're wrong.
Yeah.
And two, I have nothing, as skeptics, atheists, I have nothing nice to replace it with, nice,
yeah.
soothing,
That's
yeah,
the trouble,
sorry,
eh?
no. Yeah, no, I'm just, nihilism. How do you like that? Take a good dose of nihilism. How's that make it? Like, oh my God. Yeah, so.
Yes, here's the end of everything.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be dead and nobody's going to remember you someday.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm trying to do something about it too, and it's like, wow, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can end the main interview here now. Where can people find your stuff?
Again, so CapeCodUFO.com. If you want to descend into nihilism, adeadguy.com is my personal website with all the other junk associated to it. I shot an indie feature back in 2000, my big fat failed indie feature back in 2000. Link to all that. But yeah, the book is CapeCodUFO.com.
Sounds good.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/Brainstorm Podcast Gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
Okay, thanks for listening. If you like this and want the extra content, then you can get it by being a patron, just like Magnus, Stephanie, Bob Glenn, the Utah Outcasts, Zach, Kayla, Freethinker215, Driffa, Keith, Richard, Kim, Larry, Rob, Daryl, Aaron, Destin Doesn't Suck That Much, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster, sauce be upon him. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast, or you can do a one-time donation at paypal.me/Brainstorm Podcast. And if you want Brainstorm gear, then you can get it at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from Embrace the Void for doing the voiceover for our intro. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our Patreon ad. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our subreddit, sign up for our newsletter, which I haven't been updating. Share the show and spread the word. The more you share, comment, and like our stuff, the more it helps the show grow. Thanks to everyone for listening. Remember, the truth matters.